The YouTube algorithm rewards channels that have a higher click-through rate. But what if I told you that a lower number could actually be better for your videos? Click-through rate is shown in your analytics in the form of a percentage. You can see an overall number for your whole channel, or you can narrow it down to a percentage per video. But to understand whether these numbers are good or bad, we first need to talk about impressions. Now, you might already know that impressions are the amount of times your video is recommended or shown by YouTube to potential viewers. But do you know exactly how many different types of impression there actually are? You can see them on the YouTube homepage, in the sidebar next to other videos. Impressions are also in the subscriptions feed, and when your videos are discovered via search. So when you scroll past any thumbnail anywhere on the platform and the whole image is visible, then that is considered an impression. And your click-through rate tells you the percentage of impressions that lead to people actually clicking on your video. So really, click-through rate is a pretty scientific way of telling you three different things. It tells you if your video idea is something interesting to people, it tells you how good your title is, and how intriguing your thumbnail design is. So if 10 people see your video appear on the YouTube homepage and 5 of them click on it, that's going to give your video a click-through rate of 50%. But in reality, the numbers are much lower. If I go to the analytics of my latest video, you can see that the click-through rate is currently at 4.3%. And if I scroll down, we can break this down even further with this diagram on the right-hand side, which shows me that this video was shown to people 2,600 times through impressions, and it got 107 views, which means the click-through rate was 4.3%. So now we just need to know, is this number good or bad? And what sort of click-through rate number should you be aiming for? Is it around 4% like this video? Is it more like 8% like this one? Or is it something else altogether? Now, no cheating by looking at your own channel. I want you to leave a comment down below right now letting me know what you think a good click-through rate number is. I'll give you a second. Type it down there. And now let's take a look at what YouTube says that you should be aiming for. In the official help pages of YouTube, they say that half of all channels and videos on YouTube have an impressions click-through rate that can range between 2 and 10%. But that does not tell the whole story. In fact, they go on to say that you shouldn't be looking at the click-through rate number alone. You need to pay attention to those impression numbers as well, because just having a higher click-through rate does not mean that your video is doing well. And let me show you what I mean. This video about blocking YouTube channels is the most viewed upload on this channel, and in the last 90 days it has a click-through rate of 17.2% with a very high number of impressions. So that tells me that the thumbnail, the title, and the video idea is strong and it appeals to a lot of people. But taking a closer look, things are not quite as good as they first seem. The video itself only has 427 watch hours in the last 90 days and a very low return of revenue and subscribers. And this is because quite a lot of people weren't that satisfied with the overall content of the video. But let's now compare that video to this other one about meditation channels, which has a much lower click-through rate of 8.5% with less impressions and less overall views. But it does have 757 watch hours in the last 90 days, as well as more subscribers and more revenue. So getting a high click-through rate alone does not mean your video has been a success, and you need to pay much more attention to the wider context. And it is really important to learn why and how your videos get more impressions. When you upload a new video, it goes on a journey that determines how much it gets recommended by YouTube. Your video will first be shown to your subscribers, which in theory is your most engaged audience. It's also going to be shown to people who search for the keywords that you might have included in your title and description. And if these two audiences are clicking on the video and your click-through rate is high, then YouTube will most likely start recommending your content to a wider audience. Essentially, the higher your click-through rate gets, the more impressions that you're going to get as well. And this is when things start to get a little bit complicated, because the more people who see your video through impressions, the lower your click-through rate eventually becomes. But this doesn't necessarily mean that your click-through rate is bad. The fact is that when your videos reach a wider audience, there's more chance that you'll encounter people who aren't actually that interested in the content. It's also very easy to get some high click-through rate numbers by using clickbait. You can make your title and thumbnail very intriguing, but if the actual video video doesn't do what you've sold, then your audience retention is going to be terrible. To YouTube, low retention overrides a high click-through rate number. So you need to make sure that your titles and thumbnails are intriguing, but not a full-on lie. So to answer the main question of this video, what actually is a good click-through rate number? Well, as you've just seen, there is no one answer that fits every channel. But what I will say is that it's best to look at your click-through rate numbers over a long period of time with as much data as possible. There's really no point looking at your click-through rate 1 or 2 days after you upload. You need as much time as possible. In the last 90 days on my channel, my click-through rate average is 10.4% from 466,000 impressions. And I will say that is a number that I'm pretty happy with. It aligns with what YouTube said in that definition, so maybe you can use that as a guideline for your channel as well. Now, if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, I want you to go to your analytics and find out what the highest click-through rate number you've ever got on one video is. Then come back here, let me know down in the comments below, and let's talk about it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.